feel at home. The crowded booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
I'm here. Swarm Talk brought to you by the Crowded Booth. Let's go clean start over. Okay, so we're gonna play the song. We'll be right back. Let me corral myself. Here we go.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
Welcome in, everybody, for the third time, and now you should be able to hear me. We appreciate you tuning in to the Swarm Talk post-game show, the number one Georgia Tech show here on the internet. My name is Bryce Koon, your host each and every single week. What a game. What a game. We shout out King Season, put the fries in the bag. That was crazy. That was crazy. Not what you want to see, but we appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and continue to follow us on all of those platforms. Georgia Tech 27, Duke 18. Going to get in my rapid reaction thoughts. We'll go into more detail on Monday night or Monday at some point during the day in terms of that rewind episode and looking ahead to what's next. But this is great stuff. Maxwell says mute button working like Vandenberg on the goal line. King Season with the $1.99 donation. Put the fries in the bag. I need to after not being able to hit that. We were muted on our streaming platform, and the microphone, as you can hear, check 1 2, was muted there as well. So I'm not in the normal setup. I'm in Ralph's Digs here in the apartment. So there we go. That was a lot of fun. Let's talk quickly about this game, though, real quick. And first off, let's just get out of the way. Like, we talked about Duke's run game kind of having maybe a little bit of a resurgence or starting to build some momentum. Georgia Tech shut that down in this one. 32 carries for the Blue Devils on 68 yards. The longest rush they had was 15 yards from Anderson Castle, not Thad Castle, but a lot of people thought that might just be him. And 2.1 yards per carry. My guy Nate Shepard, great football player, really awesome young football player, true freshman, 15 for 50. But in terms of what you did, you made them one-dimensional. Now, here's the thing. You need to give your kudos and your hats off to Darian Menza. Menza, to me, was dynamic in this game. Obviously, the fumble cost Duke so much. There's no telling what would have happened, early on in the football game if the exchange on the zone read, if he pulls it a little bit sooner and he keeps it and goes around the edge, it's 7-0 Duke. Hey, ifs, ands, and buts, I understand it. That's the close things that you want to bounce your way in a football game there as well. But Darian Menza, 32 of 44, 373 and 2 touchdowns, right? I mean, hats off. He's an electric quarterback. He elevates Duke, I think, well beyond probably what they really are because they have a dynamic quarterback. And so Darian Menza, good football player, 4 carries, had 13 yards. You were able to sack him a couple of times. You had the 2 fumbles, one that you lost for Duke. So just all in all, 3 tackles for loss for Georgia Tech's defense. And then obviously you had, the 2 sacks in there as well. But Georgia Tech wins despite all of that. Now let's get to this real quick. Could have muted it right there, right? Great time to be a Yellow Jacket. Jeff Rogers says, King Season with a $4.99 donation. I'm 21 and my pops wasn't even alive the last time we're 7-0. We're witnessing a special season. It could only get better. Charlotte, we're coming. I wanted to get your comment up here later because it does do something, but hey, you appreciate the donation and what you did there as well to get it up. Cooper Barkate ate you for lunch in the secondary. 13 catches for 172 yards. He was targeted 16 times The next closest guy targeted was targeted 5 times. He did catch all of his targets. Samir Hagen's 5 for 69. But look, this is essentially this is kind of what we thought was going to happen in this game. And I said this on Friday, morning. You had a team in a defense and a secondary that really hadn't been tested by a quarterback who could really air it out. And so there's good and bad things, right? There was a lot of frustration within the game of what you were maybe, had to see. Of course, you don't want to allow 373 yards through the air. That no one wants to do that. But I think what it showed is that you can withstand a dynamic passing attack because you shut down the run game. And you got to understand sometimes defenses aren't going to be perfect. Like my day job, the team that I cover, they just got bullied by Vanderbilt up and down the football field. I can't wait to watch Vandy and Georgia Tech face off in the national title, by the way. Just absolute electricity. Just go ahead and play the game back in Birmingham. And let's run it around again. But in terms of what we take away from this game is you can withstand a portion of your defense not playing very well and not having their best day, and you still win the football game. And I think it's important to just sit here and say, hey, that's going to happen. Like you're not going to have A plus, grades across the board each and every single week. That's not necessarily going to be what happens. And can you withstand that? And look, you look across college football. Miami didn't have it last night against Louisville. Louisville's a solid team, and I tweeted out. I think Jeff Brom is one of, if not the most underrated coaching in America with what he's able to do. I will say it. I've been saying it for years. He won at Purdue. He won at Purdue. You also added the fact that though teams like Miami couldn't withstand it. LSU couldn't withstand that today. Georgia and Ole Miss are battling right now. You're going to see Alabama, Tennessee. You're seeing these teams across the country struggle, and they don't end up with the wins. And so we could dive into everything. And I typically say, hey, it's good, but it's good, but it's great, but you won, and you're 7-0. And you look around, and there's not that many other teams that are undefeated around you. Yes, your strength of schedule maybe isn't necessarily up to par with some of the teams in front of you, but you have withstood multiple challenges, multiple opportunities of adversity, and you found your way to get a win. And that has to mean something. So I think in terms of where this team is and the growth they have to have. Look, you're far from a perfect product in September. You're continuously, going to be evolving in the month of October. But where we kind of sit here on Saturday afternoon and the instant emotional reaction of the game is it's okay to be frustrated about certain aspects. I told you during the bye week, during the mailbag, I thought this group would have to continue to grow under Blake Gideon. It's just a part of it. Like first time play caller as a defensive coordinator, his first time working with Brent Key and these other coaches. It's hard for it to be just a seamless transition. The guys that make it look like that are elite. Blake Gideon's not elite yet, and that's okay. It doesn't mean he can't be one day. But as IDN Smith says here, a dub's a dub. And at the end of the day, you won the football game against arguably was going to be your toughest test of the season to date. You went on the road against a Duke team that had some offensive prowess, defensively had been able to do different things, and you won the football game. Like I don't know how much you could complain about that at the end of the day. So, yes, you always want to clean things up because the ultimate goal is to be the last team standing, right? You got to get there. And right now, Georgia Tech is on their way to being one of the final 12 teams standing in the month of December. And that's what you want a chance to play for. 7-0 is going to get you there. So I kind of start the whole episode off with that because I think it's important for us to realize and to know what we're looking at here and what we're seeing that. So it's for me, tough day, frustrating day, didn't go your way at times, but you still won the football game and you made some adjustments. Haynes King, 14 of 21, 205 through the air. He also ran for another 120 and a touchdown. He averaged 8.6 yards a carry. This is the game where you didn't see Haynes and Hosley as effective in the run game. Hosley he averaged 2.1 yards a carry. He had the nice touchdown run. Jamal Haynes, I think, is just still battling, some different injuries. But all in all, you were able to go win a football game. You put it on number 10. He went out there and helped you win the football game. The receiving aspect of this. The other guys are not going to love when I say this. It really does make me think, if Eric Singleton would have stayed, what would it look like? But would we have seen Isaiah Canyon featured in such a role? Teams across the country need the outside physical receiver, and Georgia Tech hasn't had that. I'm Malachi Carter, and I don't even know how physically imposing he was. We thought it could be Leo Blackburn, and injuries just kind of kept him out of there. But I guess what I'm saying is, if you would have had Eric Singleton Jr., you were going to feed him. He's a dynamic player, one of the best athletes in the country. But Isaiah Canyon has stepped up in maybe a different spot. Yes, you still have Eric Rivers 3 for 21. Jordan Allen had 2 catches on 2 targets for 20 yards. Stockton, Rutherford, wasn't necessarily a big factor in this game. But Isaiah Canyon, 3 for 56, had the 30-yard catch. He caught 3 of his 4 targets. To me, it's just one of those things offensively with what you have. Like, having the big-bodied receiver and not necessarily the tight ends you thought you would, it cancels a lot of these things out. And so, hats off to Isaiah Canyon, the development, them to go win that recruiting battle, to keep him last cycle, and they're going to have to do it again, right? Like, they're going to have to pony up some money to keep him again after this cycle, because he showcased what he could do, and there's going to be some big-time programs, I think, calling for number 4 in the white and gold. Defensively, let's take a look at that instant reaction, what they did. Jai Gilmore led the team in tackles with 11. He did have 1.5 tackles for loss. I talked about Gilmore early on in the preseason, thought that he could be a high floor player for you. He showed that he could do that and then some. Had the half a sack there as well, and 2 pass breakups. Honestly, might have been your defensive MVP in this one with the way he played. You did have 5 total pass breakups in this game. Tajay Butler, Daquan White, and then Melvin Jordan also added to that there as well. Some guys that we haven't necessarily seen a lot out of recently, and guys that I'm excited about how they continue to develop. Jason Moore stepped up there in the second half especially. Clayton Powell-Lee had a good game. E.J. Lightsey, Cayman Spalding there in that role. Jordan Vandenberg had the tackle for loss. You had 3 tackles for loss in this game. And I think you just made winning plays. Like, I was just on a show talking about LSU Vanderbilt, and I think it stays the same here. Like, Georgia Tech made the winning plays down the stretch, and that's the battles you have to win. It's that set of 5, 6, 7 plays during the course of a football game that if you can go make those, it's not going to just be a fun season. It could be a great season. And so that's why Georgia Tech sits where they are right now. And I think, to Mr. Smith's point here, you came out and played Tech brand of football in the second half, and then that's what was great about it. That's what you'd like to see about it. So I absolutely love that. And Andrew says this, and this is a great comment as well. The big drive to go up 10 late in the game, you kept them so off balance offensively. That's tough for a defense. And I think Manny Diaz is a really good defensive head coach and a good defensive mind. Love it. Absolutely love it. I like the way they play this. Also, Montre Bradford is a dude. Like, the young pass rushers on this team, I don't know what next year's going to look like. I don't know what years. If you can keep these guys, Christian Garrett, Montre Bradford, I think even Derry Norris is going to be a really fun player to watch. They've got some serious talent, probably better talent at the edge rusher position, their defensive end, however you want to call it, in terms of that outside, lineman position. They've got some great talent out there. We'll just have to see, how it matriculates. Can you keep all the guys there? A couple more notes for you. Key to Success says, say the thing, Bryce. They're building brand value. They keep winning. Yeah, they are. I mean, that's what you're doing right now. That's what I said earlier, too, to that point, right? You have this situation to where you just keep winning, and some people are going to have to notice you. Pat McAfee said it today on College Game Day, right? Like, you have a scenario now where you kind of look around and Georgia Tech's still there, and this is matching up. Like, Georgia just took the lead as we're live, by the way, 17-14 over Ole Miss. It looks like Ole Miss is driving, though, to maybe try to take the lead or at least tie the game before halftime. You're building brand value outside of the Georgia game. And I think that's what's really, really important for Georgia Tech as a program, and that's what this win did for you. There's plenty of things to clean up, in terms of what you want to look better at. Offensively, a little slow to start there in the beginning. Defensively, they diced you with the passing game. But, hey, now you've gotten that game out of your system, and you still won. Like, that is when we look across college football and the amount of times people mess up but can still win is very small, Georgia Tech is the team doing that right now. And that's why I think you should be excited about what they can accomplish this year. A couple more stats for you before we get out of here. It's going to be a quicker show tonight. The big plays category. Georgia Tech had 4 rushing plays of 10 yards or more, including that Haynes King 32-yard run, and then the 28-yard touchdown run there from Haynes King. In the passing game, you had the pass to Josh Beetham, the 49-yard catch and run was awesome. Duke had 10 of those plays, 10 explosive plays in the passing game, which is 15 yards or more, just 2 of those in the rushing game. So I really, really like what you have in this group. I think it's fun that they're kind of underrated, undervalued a little bit, and they just keep finding ways to win. And so I guess, we're not going to go too much longer. A couple more stats. You were less penalized, 4 for 17. You went 6 of 12 on third downs. Duke was on the field for 76 plays in this one. You were only on the field for 57 offensively. You had a 6.6, yards per play. You actually, this is crazy, per completion, you actually outgained on the average yards category in terms of the passing game, 14.6 for Georgia Tech and 11.7 there for the Dukies. Red zone, you were 2 of 2. They won the turnover, they won the turnover battle, but it didn't come back to bite you. So I guess I say this. I'll leave you with this on a shorter episode of what I think about this game. Don't worry about the AP poll. Don't worry about, what's going on behind the scenes. And don't necessarily freak out about, they're undervaluing us here, the undervalues there. People say this to me all the time. It's one of those things where, look, you won the football game, you keep trudging along, and you're 7-0. Like, you've withstood another big test, and this was a big test. And if you don't think this was a big test, I don't know what you think is a big test, but that's not me to determine your football IQ and your acumen for being able to understand and your awareness rating of what's going on around you. Overall, you won the game. You were able to kneel the clock out on an opposing team's field in an ACC battle against a team that was favored against you. That's awesome. Love to see it. Love to see it. Georgia Tech wins at 27-18. I don't have much more to say on this one than the fact that I think that you withstood multiple blows, some early punches from Duke. You showed you're a mentally tough team. You showed that you can withstand that, and you won the football game. And that's where you want to be, right? That's exactly where you want to be. So hats off to Brent Key. Hats off to Georgia Tech for getting this win on the road. Now you have to come back and you've got to play some football games. And let's make sure we get this schedule correctly in terms of the order and that other bye week. Because I told you October was important, right? I told you this was going to be important. You've got Syracuse coming to town next week for homecoming. Interesting to see what they look like, obviously, with Ricky Collins at the quarterback position. You go to NC State on November the 1st, and then it's the bye week. Boston College on the road, Pitt at home, and then clean old-fashioned hate. Who knows what will happen? All I know is that you're 7-0, knocking on the door. You're probably, honest to God, you might be the front runner in the ACC right now. And that's crazy. And that's awesome to say. And you love to say it. So, TD Jake says it was entirely warranted to be scared of the Duke offense. It was, they're good. Like, they're a good football team. You just went and played better. And that's hats off to you. You didn't look great in the beginning, and you weren't able to, shut them down in the run game. Like, just, that's awesome. That's awesome to see. So we appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you watching. Thanks so much for subscribing. We'll catch you on Sunday night recapping. We'll talk a little about this game and the rest of the college football slate. Myself, Ralph Leary, there, and Will Manus. Thanks for watching. I think I just called him Manus, but that's okay. I'm trying to click around. At least I'm not muted. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The crowded booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.